welcome to BESMU Empowerment Secrets. I am Juice myself, Chris Salboudis. I'm the CEO of Philo for Thought and the faculty moderator for today's podcast. With us today are four amazing young professionals who are also women leaders in their own organizations. I'm going to start with the senior most and go towards the junior most in our introductions. Alexandra Liotopoulos is our first. Alexandra, can you say a few words about yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here. So I am in my final semester of grad school. I'm completing my MBA in strategic management at St. John's. With that, I've gotten the experience of being a graduate assistant in career services and now the Division of Student Affairs at St. John's. And it's been really great to work with the students and continue my education as well. I also am the programming director for Philo for Thought and enjoy doing all of these empowerment series that we've done throughout the pandemic and look forward to today's discussion.
Thank you, Alexandra. Next is Anna Pierratos. Anna, can you say a few words about yourself?
Hi, guys. Happy to be here. I'm currently in my senior year at St. John's. I'm also in my last semester, but undergraduate. I am the president of the Hellenic Society. I'm the vice president of the Motor Enthusiast Organization, and I'm also secretary of Philo for Thought. So lots to pass down, and it's a very bittersweet time for me.
That's right. Next up is Cynthia Adebayo. Cynthia, can you say a few words, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Adebayo. I'm a junior at St. John's, so unfortunately not in my last semester, 2 months ago. I am studying chemistry and global development and sustainability. I am the president of the African Students Association at St. John's. I'm also the social media and marketing chair for Honoree, the Pan-African Coalition, and then I am office worker with campus activities.
Thank you, Cynthia. And then last but not least is Gabriella Pizzolo. Gabriella, can you say a few words?
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be on here and talk with you guys. I'm currently a freshman at St. John's University. I'm studying English with a philosophy minor, and I'm on a pre-law track. I am CEO of my own nonprofit called Love One Another. We travel abroad to alleviate the world's pain, and we work with young women and boys. I'm also founder of a wellness podcast called Unlocked NYC, and I'm an intern for Philo for Thought.
Excellent. Okay, so then thank you, ladies, for joining us today. What we're going to do is we're going to ask a few questions. Each question is going to go around the table and just share your perspectives on each question. Okay, so first, before we begin, we want to do a dedication. We're going to dedicate today's podcast to all the strong mentors and role models out there who have led us to where we are today. All right, question 1. As an active female leader, what do you feel your civic responsibilities are to today's community? We're going to start with Alexandra on this one.
So I feel like nowadays, with the increased use of social media, we have our own platform where we can really advocate for ourselves. And like one of my biggest things is being able to advocate for women's rights. It's one of the reasons why I originally was on my pre-law track. And advocacy is like one of my top values, right? So I feel like one of our main responsibilities is being able to share not only our beliefs, but like just general knowledge with our social media platforms. And I find that a lot of women don't do this. So I personally post a lot on my social media about women empowerment, not only now around March, where it's like International Day of Women, but throughout the whole year. Anytime I see something that is like international news or local news, I reshare it so that people are aware of what's going on in the world, because a lot of people I find are ignorant to certain things that are going on. So I feel like it's our civic responsibility to make people aware of what's going on and not just to live in our little bubbles, if that makes sense. Because we have so much power to share these things with just the press of a button. So if we could just all do our part in sharing on social media and other online forums, I think we'd be a better society. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add.
Great.
Yeah, I just wanted to add about how, it's doing our part for whatever we can, like whatever we can do to just do it. And I think it's very simple and easy to say, but the table has a certain number of chairs. And I think if we go in with the mindset that, well, there's no room for me, who said that other chairs don't exist? You can't just drag it to the table, right? So I think that's what I've been trying to do myself. And I know Alexandra has been doing that as well. I think putting ourselves in certain positions where we can bring more diversity and inclusion to the situation helps a lot. Like the motor enthusiast organization, I don't know if anyone thought that I was actually going to take on such a position, become vice president, but you put yourself in that situation, you put yourself out there, and a lot of other young girls, like freshmen, sophomores that weren't initially going to join the club said, hey, I saw, a female board member. Like we put another board member on. She also attends St. John's, obviously. She's our PR chair. And the fact that they see, hey, there are 2 girls that are on the board, like you're bringing more people in and you're making them feel included. And yeah, that might seem small because it's a student organization, but in the long run, if we keep doing that, keep that practice, we'll change the, I guess, arena, right? Because we're always in a battle to make sure that we're included.
CEO of a nonprofit, a very, very small one. Just looking back, like my mom founded it. She was a single mother and she did all she could to really make the best life for myself, my family, and for those to come after me. And so I feel like past and present really just equates down to one thing, and making sure that everyone else is okay and is included and is doing the best that they can to found their lives. And so for me as a female leader, I feel like it's really my job to really include everyone and be like, hey, like, what do you do? What are your skill assets? How can you help? Because sometimes people want to help and they just don't know how, or they're ignorant to certain things. And so you really want to educate. That's my take on it.
Okay. And Cynthia?
I was going to say that Gabriella also came from also was raised by a single mother, but that's my answer for a different question. But I feel like as a female leader, kind of going off what Anna said, there may not always be space for us at the table, but sometimes the table was never meant to have space for us. So there's no point adding an extra chair to it. You should just make your own table. I feel like as a leader, I've become more comfortable. I feel like I'm growing into the idea of, if this hasn't happened before, if this is like a new idea, I'm going to follow it. I'm becoming more in tune with like my creativity to bring new opportunities and experiences to the people that are in my team and the people that are within my organizations, because I feel like sometimes there's a certain mold that people expect us to fit as women in leadership. And I have a slight tendency to go against that mold, because I don't want you to expect what I'm going to do next, basically. And I also want to, we only have like a limited time on campus and with the organizations that we lead. So I really do want to make the most of it and set a foundation for the future in things that we've never done before. So I feel like that's my responsibility, to not be to open up perspectives of the people that I'm leading and the people in my organization, as well as myself.
As my role as a female leader, my goal is to always alleviate stereotypes, to help other young ladies also alleviate the stereotypes and find their voice and craft new opportunities. I feel like as a professor, but also as the CEO of the nonprofit, that's the task that's given to me, as even just as a another woman in society today. We should help each other in solidarity and be able to make things happen together. So we'll go to the next question. The next question is to consider the theme Promethean Fire, which is Philo for Thought's theme for 2023. Considering the theme Promethean Fire, what wisdom or empowerment secret would you pass along to another young professional?
I can start off. One thing I would really emphasize is believing sometimes you do have to rely on your team. So it is good to have people around you that support you and believe in your vision for your leadership. And also, in order to build that trust and belief in you, you just you're in that position for a reason. Believe in yourself, believe that you're well equipped to lead those people, believe that you're well equipped to take your organization to the next level and to create an impact that allured you to the organization in the first place. So just believe that you're well equipped and trust that you'll not only grow in a position, but it's a learning experience. So know that you're well equipped, but also use it, but also be open to learn from everyone around you, even those that you are leading. So yeah, you can really learn from different perspectives. So trust that you are in a position for a reason, but also be willing to take in from the different perspectives around you, basically.
I really like what you said, Cynthia, about like taking in different perspectives and learning from other people, because I feel like so many people that in the older generation, I don't want to like stereotype, but a lot of like people that I've encountered, it's like they feel like they can't learn from the younger people. And this is not only to say like social media use and like tech use, this is just like valuable life lessons. I feel like we can learn from any age person. I learn things from like the students that I work with every day, and they surprise me when they're like, oh yeah, I'm like a freshman or a sophomore. Like I said before, I met Gabriella last week for the first time, and she really left an impression on me with her maturity and her outlook on life. So I feel like we can always learn from people, whether they're older, whether they're younger. Everyone has some type of wisdom to kind of pass down. That being said, I'm not to be cliche, but I would say like, don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something. I've always, like, since I was a little girl, I've been very stubborn. I've always tried to prove people wrong. And to do a little bit of a story time, when I decided that I wanted to do my MBA and go to business school, I had a friend of mine at the time tell me, oh, like, you don't know enough about business. You don't know enough about investing in economics to go through with something like that. You're never going to make it. And in the back of my mind, I was like, is he right? Like, what does he know? You know? And now I'm not friends with said person anymore, but he hasn't done much with his life, which for whatever reason, you know, good for him. Let him do whatever he's doing. But it kind of made me think, like, look at me proving this person wrong. They don't really mean anything to me, but it made me work harder to show that, like, okay, this person who was my friend had this opinion of me. I wonder how many other people are going to have similar opinions. Let me prove them wrong, you know? And now I'm in my last semester and I'm finishing up and I'm like, yes, I did it.
Yeah, I kind of want to add, I feel like I had a similar experience, Alexandra, and I mean, looking at what we're doing, I'm not surprised that we had similar roots like that. But I've definitely been told no or told that I can't do it several times in my life. And I think that was the same piece of advice that I'm going to give. But since I don't want to cut anyone short of a lack of advice from all of us, I would say not to be scared and don't be fearful, which is really easy to say and really hard to implement. But I think that I've had so many experiences in my life where, you know, I was told not to go to St. John's, that I wouldn't, you know, achieve as much, or I was told not to go to law school because I'm more fit to work as a housewife, or just anything in general that maybe I shouldn't be working too much because a woman's hands aren't meant for that. And I think that those taught me that, you know what, you can't listen to things like that, exactly what you're saying, Alexandra, but also you can't be scared because someone told you that. You have to really believe in yourself. And just like that's the strongest thing you can do, because I feel like you're your own adversary when it comes to things like that. Like it's not so much what other people say, but also how you decide to take that information and process it. So I would say just don't be scared, just go through with it. Obviously have some sort of rationale going into making your decisions, but don't over process, I guess, with bad intentions from other people.
Yeah, piggybacking off of literally all of you. In my wellness podcast, we talk about this a lot. And so hearing all these perspectives come together, it really just makes me think about how at the end of the day, you live with yourself, right? And people are going to hate no matter what. And so I guess the only real wisdom or advice that I could give is fake that confidence until you truly believe in yourself. And once you do, keep it, because people are going to try to knock you down. And it's always going to be said, oh, women can't do this, women can't do that, or you're too young, you're whatever the reason is. People aren't going to want to see you succeed just because sometimes, right? And so for us to take that step back and be like, okay, I'm glad that they have that opinion, but that's not me. And don't let that be a reflection of yourself either. So really just light that fire within yourself and keep it burning, keep it going, and prove everyone wrong.
I love what the four of you are saying, of course, as always. I will just summarize a little bit that it's good to trust the path and have faith in yourself. And that ties back to a few things we've been saying in previous podcasts about Aristotle and the 5 aspects, and really just internally having that trust in yourself in order to move forward. Because even if everyone around you trusts you and, has confidence in what you're saying, if you don't start out with that trust in yourself, you're going to shortchange not just your own experience, but the experience that other people will have to understand and appreciate what it is that you're doing. The next thing is also, yes, absolutely, you can learn from anyone at any age. The beauty of our position at Fuel for Thought is that we're in the middle. So there are younger generations always coming on. We're not the youngest generation anymore. There are people right behind us. We're, in the middle. We have other people who we're learning from still, who have a lot of valuable things to impart, but also we ourselves are the Promethean fire. Each individual is the Promethean fire. Each one of us is the flame of hope, of prosperity, of guidance, of potential, of energy that can be passed along to somebody else. Our wisdom, our experience, anything. And not to get overly religious, but in my upbringing, we were taught that God doesn't leave you on a path for no reason. You're on this path for a reason. So make the most of it and stay open to opportunity. The opportunity could be meeting another person. It could be having a new resource that you can share with somebody who's going to come along your path later on. And so really that combination of things. And definitely, as a few of you have said as well, don't give into your fear. Like giving into fear just empowers the person who put the fear within you. It just weakens your purpose, and really there's nothing productive about it, and it could lead to other damaging thoughts, which, it's important to look your fear head on and then let it go so that you can continue on with your productivity. Moving on to the next question. What female role models have inspired you to do the community outreach or follow the career path that you have chosen? Now, a couple of you have mentioned already that you were raised by single moms. I also was raised by a single mom. but maybe there are also other mentors as well.
As a young girl, I always used to look at Saint Anna, like the Virgin Mary's mother, and see how she cared. Like just the icon in the church, I would always look at it. It was always my favorite one, and not necessarily because it had my name, just because there were two female individuals in that one icon, in that one mural rather. And my mom taught me, like, she led Panagia to do great things. She led the Virgin Mary to do great things. And even though I'm not going into teaching or something where I'm necessarily going to be guiding other people, I did realize that I wanted to be a leader in some aspect of my life, whether that be getting involved in the community and volunteering, or, participating in school activities, or even just my line of work, like going into law. And, hopefully opening up my own firm and things like that. So I think just seeing that icon and then being supported by people on my path, like my own mother or other female lawyers that have given me advice from time to time, or even you, Chris, like, I know that all these people came into my life, and it just kind of stems from that one icon. And I see that as like my biggest role model. So even though it's a religious take, I'd say that it's pretty important, only because in this day and age, a lot of people tend to forget like their roots, and just my religion is a really big part of who I am.
That's great. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next. I do want to stray away from my mother being my role model, even though she is the rock of my entire life. So shout out to her. But I really want to take a moment to like talk about young female poets and artists. And so my absolute favorite, not necessarily mentor, but just role model, was Charlotte Bronte. She was an English novelist and poet, and she wrote the novel Jane Eyre. And so it really started my love for like 20th century women empowerment, and just seeing how, like, even when it was really enforced that women should not do anything with their lives, these women in these novels were still rebellious and saying, well, no, because I have this skill asset and I'm going to use it. And so that really helped me keep going in my own profession. And as Anna said as well, taking a religious perspective into it, when I was little, I was like 8. My mom took me to Ecuador, which is one of my hometowns. And we have Santa Narcisa de Jesus, which is a saint whose body never decayed. And so I went to her cathedral and I saw her. And I was like 8, but I started crying because I swore that I saw her blink at me. And I ended up dedicating myself, and in specific my like virginity when I was that young, to the saint. And so always looking back at that helps me keep myself empowered, and knowing that I have young women behind me to kind of fall back on.
I love that. Cynthia?
I cannot lie, my role model definitely is my mother, especially because similar to Gabriella, she also founded non-profits when I was a child. So I've seen her basically my whole life set an example for community outreach, giving back to others. Even when we didn't have much to give, she still gave everything she could, and she taught me since I was a baby to always give back what you can, even if there's, especially, and it intertwines with our faith as well, because she would trust that God would always provide, and we should just do our best and he'll basically complete the rest, essentially. But she really is my role model. She's showed me how important it is to genuinely love and care for others. Regardless of your situation, you can still be an example of God's love in the world. And that can just a small interaction with you being an example of God's love can change somebody's entire perspective on life, because they could be having a bad day and they see you just being unnecessarily nice to them. And they're like, why is this person like that? They ask follow-up questions and their whole perspective has shifted. And that's why it's so important to just go out every day and be intentional with your interactions. That's another thing that she's taught me, because my mother can chat up anybody. We can literally be in the supermarket line and she will chat up the cashier for a good 20 minutes. And that cashier will end up getting her number and they're talking about having lunch the next day. Like that type of stuff is something only my mother could do. That impact and influence that she has over others, that's something that I really do appreciate. And I'm glad to have had her as an example of a leader.
I'm glad to hear this story. Alexandra?
So to go back to what they're all saying about like people in their lives being good role models for them. I mean, obviously, like our moms are like the first female leader role model that we'll have in our lives. But I can also talk about like my grandparents, my grandmothers, both of them, like in their own ways. I mean, my one grandmother, she like stayed more traditional. She never left Greece. She lived and served her family for as long as she lived, up until like the summer. But my other grandmother, she left Greece. She was the first woman to leave Greece from her town, moved to Germany. From there, she went to Canada and then ended up coming here, raised her family. So she's always been like a role model in like not fighting adversity, but like overcoming adversity and proving herself. She was a Spitfire up until she was diagnosed with dementia a couple of years ago. But anyway, but I mean, they've been role models in my life. But I think like one thing that has been the most influential to me was a couple of years ago, I had seen this quote. I think it might have been on Instagram, by Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that stated, women belong in all places where decisions are being made. And I kind of started to envision this idea of the table, like what we were talking about before, in a boardroom, surrounded by other female leaders, or even some men too, and just the idea of being able to give your opinion and it being valued in a powerful role. And that kind of like fed into, okay, whether I go the law track or I go into business, I want to be at the table. I want to be in this position where I'm involved in big decisions that are being made. So that's kind of a quote that has stuck by me, and I have it plastered on my wall. I see it every day, and it's like almost like a manifestation of what's to come for the future. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be CEO of a big company, or, making big differences. We'll see.
This is great. So to recap a little bit, we do have a lot of role models. The first role model for a young lady tends to be her mom, because that's just how things happen. Our parents tend to be our first audience and our first critics, and sometimes our harshest critics, but also the ones who have the most stake in our ability to do well, because they feel pride. Even if we're messing up, they feel pride for us because we're trying, which is great. Keeping it a little bit towards the St. John's family, my thing is self-made women. So my grandmother was a self-made woman. My mom was a self-made woman. When everyone told her, you're crazy, you're going to be a doctor, no, she applied to med school, and they thought she applied so she could marry a doctor, but she was the first woman in her university to graduate. It was very intense. And so I had really big shoes to fill going into that. But she would always tell me, no, you do you. You're going to find your thing. You'll be fine. And it's funny because I then went to high school and met my second favorite mentor, which was Miss Patricia Lucas, who helped establish a lot of women empowerment groups at St. John's University as well. And she's one of my iconic all-time heroes. She passed a couple of years ago. And I love the fact that at a time where women were really just trying to support themselves and push out into the professional arena, she was looking left and right and saying, no, we could do this together. Let's go. Right. I also have a lot of very, famous kind of icons like Queen Elizabeth, who passed recently. I loved her story. I loved the fact that even though she was never trained to be the monarch, even though her father was the monarch and she was clearly the next in line. It was assumed somehow it was going to go to the next guy in line. And she assumed the position and she taught herself. She taught herself the history, the politics. She got tutors to come and train herself on what to do. And that for me is something that each of us has to do, because no matter what generation we're part of, if we don't keep ourselves open, she could have just presumed that, okay, I'm the monarch and everything I do is flawless. And so what? I don't know stuff, right? And she could have just proceeded like that and had the silver spoon in her mouth. But she's actually a very hard worker and puts her shoulder to the grind. And I love that about this lady. Her Highness, the Queen of England, right? But it's a real story about a real woman, and I love that. And it's not as common as we think. Even though more women go to college now, more women graduate from college now, it's not presumed that every woman is going to go out there and really just jump into the trenches and do and act. Another icon is another professor from St. John's, Alice Ramos from the philosophy department, who she's been really a role model in the sense of what a dignified woman is. There's a dignity to being a woman that is not often acknowledged and received properly in society, because it's presumed that if you're a professional woman, there are all these stereotypes about what else you are. And it surprises me because we're in the 21st century and it should not be. But Dr. Ramos, Queen Elizabeth, my everybody who I've known and look up to, they carry themselves, they comport themselves with the dignity that shows I have something to contribute. You will listen to me without being pushy, without being rude, without being aggressive, without staging protests. They're doing their thing with a dignity that is really what I want to be. I used to say when I grow up, right? I think I'm kind of grown up now, but I feel like it's something I continually am aspiring to in order to then pass that along to the next generation. I think is still lacking in female leadership today, and what can we do to bridge the gap as our own network, within our own networks of professional leadership?
So can I start with that?
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, I remember they had brought in a bunch of alumni to speak to us. So I went to an all-girls high school, the same school that Chris went to. And they always preached this idea of women empowerment. And I found that time that they had brought in a bunch of alumni to speak to us, we were supposed to be connected to them. And I remember being, a junior in high school, and I was pre-law, gung-ho about this corporate law journey that I thought I wanted to take. And I reached out to some of the women that we were connected to that were lawyers, and they were very unresponsive and almost it was a waste of time for them to help out. And I remember going back to the woman who had introduced me to them and saying, you would think that coming from a school like this, where they preach this women empowerment and helping others, giving back, remembering where you came from, they would have been more helpful. So I found that not only with them, but with some other people that I've spoken to, it's they've done well for themselves and they don't want to give back. And I'm not saying all women that in leadership roles have done this, but I've encountered a few where it's you have to remember where you came from and you should give back. How hard is it to have a 5-minute conversation with someone and just pass along some wisdom, some tips to help them out? And I feel women are, we're striving to meet these goals. We're working for large companies, getting these big positions, there's more equal pay, et cetera, et cetera. But this simple, like, mentoring the new generation is where we're like, oh, I don't know, maybe it's a competitive thing. They don't want people coming for their jobs. But I feel like in order to continue to grow, we should be open to helping each other out. And so many women don't.
I think
Yeah.
also that comes from, like, a lot of people might think, oh, well, I did it without help. So if they want to be successful and do it the right way, that they can figure it out on themselves too. And that way they're actually qualified, or they had every right to get to where they needed to be, which is not a fair way to look at it. Because I feel like if you understand the struggle of how long and how difficult it took to get there, then you would probably want to offer help to other people. So it doesn't have to be that way. So there could be more, women involved in that area, in that discipline. I've worked in a law firm before where there were a lot of female law interns, and they were just very competitive with me on everything. And although we were all interns, they were like a step above me because they were law students and I was like the undergrad intern. So I did have to look up to them for certain things. So that's why I would consider them like leaders in that sense. And I do believe that there are a lot of, female professionals that are very competitive with other females, which I find crazy because, we all want the same thing. Like, we all want to be successful. We all want to do well for ourselves. And I think that women truly, like, a lot of women do tear each other down. And then going into the professional field, like, you see how a lot of women do that. And I'm not saying that all women do that, obviously, because I've had women, be my role model. I've had women guide me with things, but there are definitely a lot of women that still do that. And it's really concerning.
It is. It's still a problem today. We can talk about that more in a moment. Gabriella, would you like to add to it?
Yes, definitely. I think in this society right now, what women need the most within our community is support. We're in a constant fight for equality, no matter what. We can have equal pay, we can have equal rights, but we are still always being looked down upon. And for us to be cutthroat with each other, it just tears us down as women, as individuals. And it creates a sense of anxiety and insecurity within women. And so if we can just bridge that gap to support one another, reach a hand out, pull other sisters, because at the end of the day, womanhood is a sisterhood. Pull your fellow sister equal to you, then maybe we can finally reach the equality that we need.
Going off of what Gabriella said, throughout this podcast, Anna, Alexandra, they shared their experiences of people around them basically doubting their ability and just kind of trying to project insecurities or making them feel that they are less than capable of achieving their goals. And like, similar to what Gabriella said, we do need support. We need, so that when women do encounter interactions like that, they're not staying in that dark place of, oh, maybe they are right. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Maybe I should just stay in my lane. But thankfully, Anna and Alexandra, they didn't let that stop them from pursuing the path that they wanted to go on. But some women don't have access to other supportive people around them that are able to fully reinstill confidence in them, that they are able to achieve what they want to, that they are more than capable of pursuing their dreams. And I feel like we really do need a stronger support system, especially for young women too, because even though we have made progress in terms of the opportunities available to women for careers, people still face traditional mindsets at home. So in order for us to get to them when they're at a younger stage in their life, so that they can start fighting those false narratives of, oh, they just have to be a housewife, or they shouldn't think of having a good career so that they can stay home and take care of the family. We really do need people that genuinely want to make an impact, not people that just want to do a quick community service and keep it pushing. We need people that actually want to be in these young girls' life and want to see them do well. We need true mentorship, essentially.
I agree with what the four of you are saying, actually, and it's not a new problem. There's a mentorship that takes place from mother to daughter, usually, which I've seen not just from my own family, but from several families, where the mom teaches her children, look, especially a single mother, you have to bounce back. Let's go. Resilience is like the key word here. Let's go. Pull yourself up from your bootstraps. Keep moving. Come on, we have to go. And I remember from a very young age, my mom would just grab my hand, and my sister was younger. She would pick my sister up like a little football, and we would be running to one thing or another, or, quick, we have to do this. Come on, this is the opportunity. Let's go, no matter what it was. And it became part of a lifestyle. And so it's part of why, and each of you knows this either from class or from mentoring with me, that's how I am. Let's go. Come on, let's go. We have come on, don't worry, we'll come back to it. It's going to circle back. We're going to repeat. Don't worry. Let's go. Right. And keep moving. Just keep moving. Right. Unfortunately, I have also seen the reverse effect, where the mother who gives up because she feels she doesn't have the resources, because she doesn't have the support, because other women in the community are looking down on her. And what happens to that woman is her children then look down on her, and in looking down on her, look down on themselves as well, and put themselves down and develop like a sense of failure before they start anything. So I think one of the main things that we have to build as in terms of mentorship is responsibility, parental responsibility, and being able to help women who are in need, young mothers especially. There's so many young women out there who are moms. They don't know what they're doing necessarily. We don't. As a mom myself, we don't start out knowing what we're doing. We just grab examples from what we've seen in life and work our way through that and ultimately build a system, right? But no mother's perfect, right? Same thing as a mentor or a tutor or a sponsor for anybody. It's the same thing. It's not perfect. But the thing is, if more women would have the courage to become mentors, to step up, we wouldn't have such a gap. I really feel this. If more women showed support, not just with their words, but with their actions, because words, anyone can say anything, right? It doesn't matter. It's going to evaporate in the air. All right. But if you don't back it up with action, it's nothing. And I see, unfortunately, too many women, too many organizations designed for women that just sit around, and you have people who are there for the glory of having a title in an organization, but they don't really do anything. And that's sad, because right there, the people who are against professional women will win their argument. The people who, since, let's say, vaguely 2016, who were pro a certain person and his outlooks on the universe and his degradation of women and misogyny, those people then win. All right. What I'd also like to see more of is intercultural support between women. Like, it should not be just for one age group or one classification or one social group or one zip code, whatever, okay, or one college. It should be everywhere, okay? And I know that the five of us have that instilled in us because we're part of the St. John's family, and we're always, thinking Vincentian mission and all these other things. And I know that we also have shared religious values, so that also contributes. But it should exist regardless of who we are. Women need to support women a lot more. no matter what our identity is, we're still here in the struggle. Support each other, give a kind word, instead of bashing, instead of, who said, I forget which of you said, tearing down. Like, stop tearing each other down. Just build, right? Even if you don't have, let's say, the full hour, the full week to volunteer to be with somebody, just a kind word, an email, come on, go, you can do it. Congratulations. Oh, how was your thing? Gabriella, when you came on to the podcast today, I was like, hey, how was your thing last week? But it should be more like that. It should be like times 1,000, and it should be for everyone, not just like one time. Anyway, that's me on my soapbox, ladies. But let's wrap up with a comment that each one of you would like to share that you feel the next generation really needs to know about.
Go, Gabriella.
Okay. I was going to start off by saying love one another. That's the name of my nonprofit. And I stand by it no matter what, in every single situation. Keep loving, love no matter what, love when you have nothing left. Keep loving, keep going. Love yourself, love everyone else around you. Just love one another.
So with that, I'd say we need to continue to support each other as much as we can. And if we don't know someone who has the answer, find someone that'll give them the answer. And to continue breaking down barriers. We mentioned so many influential people in our lives, and these are people that are across different generations. For their time, they broke down specific barriers. And, as we continue in our lives, we'll continue to break down more generational barriers. So I think that that's a common theme, the supporting each other, continuing to prove people wrong, and just, doing it, I don't want to, there's a term I want to use, but it's probably too vulgar for the podcast.
Oh, no. You'll share it later. I want to hear it. Anna?
I would say, I think that it's very easy for us to have this discussion. I think we need to work on, getting that message out there and, helping more girls in need and really just putting our words into action, which I know we all do as female leaders, but I just think that that's a nice way to sum everything up. Just make sure we're actively doing what we're saying we want to do.
Exactly. Cynthia?
You're never too young to be an example. You're never too young to be a mentor, especially for us on a college campus. If you're upperclassmen, you're essentially a mentor to the underclassmen that are in the organization. So even then, you can begin to start setting that foundation of you are more than capable. You can achieve what you want to, and I am here to support you and uplift you. You don't have to be a tenured professor before you can start being part of a support system for other young women around you.
Exactly. I'm going to say another shout out to all the people who have lent their support. All the secretaries, all the mentors, all of the women who do day by day, and men, because we have a mix of supporters who help us do our work, who help us with our outreach, and who I hope will continue to do so. This is the kind of work that we'd like to see go viral. We're always talking about viral community and these things. I'd like to see, Philoctimo really take place in real life day to day. Promethean fire being passed from hand to hand until the whole world is lit up with inspiration. Those of you who don't know, Marianthi Vlachos is a young professional woman who is also a small business owner in Astoria, New York. We do hope that you will join us on March 3rd at 7 p.m. And I think, Anna, we're going to post it on our Instagram, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so stay tuned. It's going to be posted on our Instagram. Also save the date, May 6th at St. John's University Manhattan campus, we will be hosting our annual spring symposium. All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.